If you're listening to this podcast on an Android, you should check out the Podcast Republic app. It's available on the Google Play Store and has thousands of great reviews. So it's not just me telling you it's good. It's many people out there. You favorite your favorite shows, they download when they post new episodes, and you get to listen to your shows like Dissecting the 80s, that simply. So check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. Just wanted to take a second and remind you folks about our very big, exciting announcement. July is going to be the first ever Dissecting the 80s listener request month, which means we need your help. The phone line is open right now. You call 856-347-7328. Go ahead and back that up if you need it. It's 856-DISSECT. And you leave, hopefully, your name and where you're calling from. If you're not comfortable with that, just the name is fine. And the name of the movie you'd like us to do, and a short description of what you'd like for us. We've gotten quite a few in so far, and everybody has done a fabulous job so far at keeping it short and sweet and to the point. So kudos to you if you've called in already and you're hearing this. You did a great job. No more than 2 per person, please, and only 1 movie per call. So please don't rattle off a whole list of names because we won't be able to use it. But we're going to put those into a hat and draw them out to complete our listener request month alongside 2 of our Patreon supporters, Michelle and another person who has not yet told me that I can say their name. But thank you to them for making this possible. It's a very exciting thing.
Yes, and if you need us to modulate your voice like you're some kind of witness to something on the news on a news program, we can do that. Just let us know.
Yeah, I could do that. Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Jack, and I need to request you do Urban Cowboy.
The other thing is, if you're an international listener, I realize that makes calling a challenge. So if you are an international listener or you're somebody who's unable to make the call, you can record a short voice memo and email that to dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. So trying to make sure everybody's included. I totally understand if you don't want to call a phone number, but we do. The important part is that we have something to play at the top of the episode that's like, hi, this is a real person. And
your number doesn't go on a list.
Right. I'm not going to publish any information about you, but it's hard to do listener request month and then be like, yep, this is a movie that someone picked, and here it is. We're trying to make sure that we're held a little bit accountable so people know that, like,
we'll show receipts.
Yeah, exactly. But, so once again, the phone line is open. It's open until midnight Eastern Standard Time on May 31st. So at the time that this episode drops, you've got about 25 days left, which you think is plenty of time, but it's going to be here in a second. I just know it. So
wait, do you mean 11:59 on May 31st?
Yes.
Okay.
At the stroke of midnight, 11:59 May 31st, Eastern Standard Time, it's over. At stroke of midnight, your call is invalid. So if you call us at 12...
the last stroke of the last chime of the bell of midnight.
Yes, exactly. If you call us and the timestamp is 12:00:00:0001 June 1st, I'm sorry, but it's not in listener request.
Sorry, Cinderella.
So get those calls in, and we look forward to seeing what else comes our way. It's been some really great stuff so far. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is a man who also didn't know what to get his mother for Mother's Day this year, so he got her an episode. The Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. And here's the thing. Episodes don't die, and episodes aren't kind of squishy fruit covered in chocolate. So
That's true.
You're winning.
And it's not empty calories.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think this is a really brilliant, not at all selfish thing that we've done. We are doing the Mike Nichols, EGOT Mike Nichols, I should say. Let's do respect where it's due. EGOT winner Mike Nichols film Working Girl from 1988. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's 88.
We got your Harrison Ford. We got your Melanie Griffith. Welcome back to the show. I'm glad to see you're not almost eaten by a lion for a whole picture.
Sigourney Weaver and Joan Cusack.
Weaver. Yeah. So a lot of fun stuff to unpack
Who
here.
Mom always refers to as my favorite.
Yes, she does.
She's like, your favorite, isn't it? And I'm like, who's my favorite?
Yes.
And she's like, Joan Cusack. I'm like, I mean, I love Joan Cusack. I think she's a gem. But like, she's not, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's, if you're going Andrew's favorite, that it wouldn't be what I pick.
You know what the craziest part is? She's done it so much that I think that too. And so I saw her, and I swear to God, the first time she popped on screen, I was like, oh, Andrew's going to be real excited.
I love the woman well enough. I think Joan Cusack is wonderful. It's just, I don't know why.
I would argue.
The better Cusack?
Maybe the better Cusack.
Oh, 100% she's the better Cusack. 100%.
So he's got the higher highs, but she has the more consistent.
Oh, exactly.
Run. So, like, Cusack's got a few, like, real high highs.
You can't say that. They both have the same last name.
Well, John, obviously. Real high highs, but then some stuff that is... And his later, like, current era career is baffling to me. He's taken a turn... Okay, let's do the thing, and then we can start on. We watched Working Girl, so you know what that means.
I didn't realize we hadn't said that yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your sassy sister film, The Die Hard. Something's gotta be done about your sassy sister film, The Die Hard.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So, I have been on a kick lately of 90s action types schlock because I discovered recently that if you have any nostalgia for that era movie...
Like True Lies kind of thing?
Yeah, that's... All right, so if you got your Arnold Schwarzenegger type films, right? Uh-huh. You got your top tier, which is your Terminator, your True Lies probably, stuff like that. And then you go down a tier and you got your Commando, your Last Action Hero, your Eraser.
Oh, I forget about Eraser.
But like that tier where it's like the action's really good, the plot is totally goofy nonsense, but like it's kind of fun to watch and it moves right along. It's tight, short movie. So that is a type of movie that I thought was gone because all action movies are superhero movies now. They're just like these huge big things.
Except for that Dwayne The Rock Johnson Die Hard with an amputee.
Yeah, but even that is like the scope of that is enormous compared to Die Hard. Like the stakes of these movies are not the world is going to end, and it like that is a big piece of it to me. In like the 90s, it's like the action's real good, the plot is mostly nonsense, and typically we're not saving the world. Like we can be occasionally that's happening, but it's usually just like someone's got to go get a thing or save a person or do
bear
it.
bonds,
like
which is the same as money, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like Die Hard, a great example, is I think one of the best action movies of all time, but is like a robbery movie. Ultimately, it's a heist movie,
medium stakes.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these movies exist still. They're just now made direct to DVD, and they're typically directed by the mostly men who are like the stunt directors on big action movies, like your DC, Marvel, whatever's. So those guys are making like $10 million movies where it's like a 90s action movie, but it's made now. And so like I just watched one that was basically a remake of Sudden Death, the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme at the hockey rink.
That's the only Jean-Claude Van Damme movie I know.
Well, this was Batista at a soccer match. And
in
there
America?
was a bomb in the stadium. No, he went to visit his niece in London. It was the way we got to the soccer match was like kind of ridiculous and convoluted. But like once there, it was like we got Batista, we got this really funny sidekick character. I don't remember his name, but he was like running around with him and helping, and he was like a stadium security guy. And it was like this is exactly the type of movie I felt like didn't exist anymore, and I kind of missed because there's only so many times you can watch Air Force One.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's this whole world out there. Like another one that I saw recently was called Braven with Jason Momoa. And it's like some guys stash some drugs at his family's cabin. And then he comes to the cabin and he's like, oh, there's all this cocaine here. And then they come, they're like, hey, we'd like our cocaine back. And he's like, well, if I give it to you, you're probably going to kill me. So I guess I have to just kill all of you. And he's like improvising weapons in the cabin. And Stephen Lang is playing his dad and sniping people out the roof. Like, it's like so stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, so stupid. But it's also like the perfect wallpaper movie.
Yeah, no, I'm into Jason Momoa in a cabin fighting off cocaine dealers.
But the reason why I brought this up is because John Cusack is trying to do these. And I'm like, this is not your lane.
You are not
this guy.
Oh, crap. Oh my God, I'm blanking. Taken.
Liam Neeson.
You are not Liam Neeson, buddy.
Right. I'm like, hey, John Cusack, your lane is not late career Liam Neeson. Like, you got to find a different window or something, but this is not it. No one buys you as a murder killer guy.
Yeah, absolutely not. You can be 1408. I like you can be mousy detective, journalist guy.
Like dad at the end of his rope sort of thing. But like, if you're gonna do cheap crap movies, they need to be like, you're the dad on vacation with his kids and it's an awful comedy everyone hates. I'm not saying you're allowed to do good movies because you're not that talented of an actor anymore, but you cannot be an action star. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100% not an action star. Now, Joan Cusack as an action heroine.
You're about to be taken. I need you to yell out the descriptions of the people who are about to touch you. I'm so here for it. Give it to me all day long.
Yeah, I like, now I just am mad that movie hasn't been made yet. Or any, like, badass lady.
Well, they've done a few of those. You got your Atomic Blonde. You got your, whatever that one with Jennifer, what's her face?
Oh,
was.
the Black Widow movie?
Sparrow. Yeah.
Black Widow, but not Black Widow. Yeah, Red Sparrow.
Yeah. I was like, there's a color in there.
Yeah, it was literally, I think it was called Red Sparrow, and I was like, this is just black. You friggin' different color, different animal, but this is a Black Widow movie.
Anyway, that's a lot of talk about what isn't Working Girl, and I kind of like this movie, so I feel like we're doing a disservice to it.
Joan Cusack is the
we got it off on a. I think so. I think so. I think you're more likely to be holding a winner in your hands if it says Joan Cusack on the label than John.
I agree.
Which isn't to say that, like, Cusack doesn't have his moments. It's like, to use a sports analogy, Cusack was like the better home run hitter, and she was like the more consistently on base hitter, which is like, both of those things have value. It just depends on what kind of team you're building. She was like more consistently putting in a solid performance, and he was, swinging for the fences.
I go to backyard baseball. I always got pick the kid with the backwards baseball hat who was short.
Yes. Pablo.
Thank you. I could not think of his name.
It's yep. He was the short compact power hitter.
File that under things you'll never need to use.
Oh yeah, that's just good information in my brain. Like the time that I just remembered Doug Funny's middle name is Yancey, and
Douglas Yancey Funny.
Yeah, of course, that's information I know. Why? Who knows? Just because that's the stupid way this brain is wired. Anyway. We're flying in. It's Working Girl. We've been on this for 12 minutes. We have not talked about the movie once yet. I'm so sorry.
We open with Carly Simon's Let the River Run, the first of 100 times you'll hear this tune.
I do not like this song.
I do enjoy it, but also we sang it in choir every spring.
Yeah.
So, like, I say every year, I was only in choir for the first 2 years of high school, and then I was like, I hate this. Deuces. But every spring they sang Let the River Run. And I remember, I want to say Mom got very emotional about it.
Here's my beef with Let the River Run. It is a very sad song, and it is performed like a jubilant anthem, and I like, it doesn't work. Like,
it's performed with like a gospel choir.
Right, but it's done in a, like, you hear that gospel choir and the sort of like joy in the voices of those singers, and like, it's a sad song that's like, it's like,
lyrically sad, but
yeah,
brightly weird.
Yeah, which I don't like it. It's played in this movie like it's this triumphant anthem, and it's really just like, well, a lot of shit's gonna happen to you. You kind of just gotta, go with the flow. And like, that's a good message for a song, but it needs to be played with like a sad folks guitar
soulful
underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not this like beautiful gospel choir. Like it plays over the end of this movie like it's this triumphant anthem. And I'm like, this does not feel triumphant at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also just remember that in high school, we always were like, hey, we found this arrangement of this musical theater song. Can we sing this for a concert? And our choir director was always like, no, you guys, you sing Let the River Run every year. That's from a movie. And we were like, that's not the same thing. We want to sing like Trash in the Camp from Tarzan.
That's from a movie.
Like, you don't just get to decide. Like, that's not how that works.
It's like, also, we're 14 and it's 2008 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me. Sorry, that's not how old you were then. 2006. We're 14. It's 2006.
Close.
No one knows what Working Girl is.
I honestly, but I don't even remember anyone like pitching it. It's like, it's the song from Working Girl. It was just like, it's a song from a movie.
Yeah. It is a song in a movie. Moving on. So we have the opening shot of this movie, I think, is my favorite like artistic-y,
It's great.
sniffy movie. It's this like big sweeping shot that comes up alongside the Staten Island ferry, and I was like, oh, are we gonna keep pushing all the way in? And then they kind of go through a window and into the ferry, and it's just like a really awesome, beautiful thing that at the time that they made this movie was probably a huge pain in the ass that involved like a helicopter or a hang glider or something insane.
Yeah, 100%.
It wasn't like a doofus with a drone on a little speedboat underneath. Like it was hard to do.
It's crazy that like today, any jackwagon with a YouTube account and a drone has done that shot. Like that's crazy to me.
Well, even like I've watched like comedy sketches or short films produced in Baltimore entirely that have like a beautiful sweeping overhead drone shot of the city of Baltimore that like flies in onto a character that then is like a very goofy sketch that's just like very, very silly nonsense. But like to kind of set
Drone
the scene,
City,
they started
USA, apparently.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how affordable that is now, which is great for filmmaking in general. But when it's done in the 80s, you kind of have to be like, hey, good job. Because that was a huge pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
So many permits. All of the
permits.
So every woman in this opening sequence has Elaine Bennis like billboard hair.
Don't you dare. Because their hair is way worse than Elaine's.
But it's this like from the top of their forehead to the top of their hair is 6 inches at minimum. Like it's a billboard. They could have sold this space to advertisers. They could have clipped in like smoke cool cigarettes and just walked around with it up there. It's crazy town.
The difference is like Elaine Bennis is like a full head, like it's a very full bang. It looks like it's sort of like a bump it almost, but like condensed. All of these women just have like thin, wispy bangs that they've teased to the heavens.
Yes.
So it looks like a piece of cotton candy that got like shredded a little, like pulled apart a little bit and just stuck on.
Yes. The wisps at the like as they're swirling.
Yeah, at the end of the cotton candy like flourish. That's what their bangs are.
So everyone has billboard hair, which is what I've decided I'm calling it from now on, because it's like a little billboard mounted on top of your head.
It might be the most 80s hair we've had since Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which is like our second episode.
The clothes too are really super crazy. And I like throughout the movie, they're just more and more clothing. I'm just like, holy crap, more of this?
I don't know, Heather's had pretty 80s clothing.
Yeah, it did, but this is like the business attire, I think, which is why it feels sillier to me. Like, there's a little bit of leeway in a high school movie where you're like, kids always dress like idiots. Like, that's sort of true across time and space immemorial, that like kids always kind of dress like idiots. And then you're looking at these business suits and pantsuits, and you're just like, that jacket is 16 inches wider than your frame. You look like David Byrne. Like, who's burning down the house?
In the 1700s, women had the like panniers, the side bustles. So they had to turn sideways to go through doors. And then in the 80s, we're like, let's just do it again, but up top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you're wider than a door frame. How is that comfortable? Oliver Platt in the house. I thought he was going to be like a big part of this movie. I kind of like Oliver Platt.
There are so many basically cameos in this movie.
Yeah. And a guy we might see around the end of February. Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to predict anything. I don't know yet. But maybe we'll see him at the end of February.
There's only so many fours. Wait.
Well, yeah, but this is a special February that's coming up because it's 2020. So maybe we'll see Oliver Platt. Who knows? I don't know. It's hard to tell what happens. So
anything can happen on Leap Day.
Exactly.
Leap Day Williams.
So he is here and is like a huge a-hole. We've got this bustling like
bullpen
trading of thank you. They're trading stocks and whatnot. Everybody is like,
I still don't fully understand stocks, and that is okay with me.
Like, here's the thing, though. I remember, and this could be wrong, right? Like memory is faulty, and it's fine. Like, I can remember this wrong. But I remember there being a changeover from fractions to decimals in stock prices while I was alive. Like, because you would do, like stock projects in school.
2.5.
Well, so, like, a stock price now, when you look it up, is the exact dollar amount per share. And it used to be like a number with a fraction that might be like 19 7/8, which you would have to like.
Why would you convert. That seems so stupid.
I don't know, but I am sure this was a thing. At least how they printed it. Maybe it was just how they printed it in the paper. But I just remember doing stock projects.
Money is in 100 cents.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. But I swear to you, I have distinct memory of doing like stock projects in school where it was like you had fake money and you invested it and you like would track the stock's price in the paper every day, which like I know sounds like a very old fashioned sentence, but this is the world that I lived in for a long time. And I remember it being fractions, and I remember it being like probably a backdoor way to teach us fractions.
I thought you were going to say like, oh, they gave you a stock, like a stock prices for a day and you had to turn all the fractions into decimals.
No, it was like they were printed in the paper as like 19 7/8 or whatever.
Huh. Orange juice shares.
Right. So, and the other thing is, in the movies, it's like about half the time they're just buying stocks and bonds, and then the other times they are trading like commodities and stuff, which is just much harder for the average person to understand, I think. Okay, it happened in 1997. I looked it up. We had to take a break for some technical stuff. The Common Sense Stock Pricing Act was signed into law in 1997, converting fractions to decimals. But before that, it was like you could go into 64ths. Yes. So I didn't make that up.
Why, money people? Why?
But this article actually explains it as part of the reason why pieces of 8 is this expression, but it was like kind of technical and complicated. So I thought this is not the podcast.
Pieces of 8 is like pirate talk.
Yes, no, it is. This dates back to like way, way, way back when, and that's how trading was done in Europe.
Huh. Weird.
So anyway, we're trading stocks or bonds or something. We are literally 20 minutes into this podcast, and we are 19 seconds into this movie. The office is trading, bustling.
We've also established that Melanie Griffith is like a really hard worker. She is, going to night school, trying to better herself, and her friend, it's very much the like, you work too much.
Yes. And she's got this like cadre of secretary friends that are all like really supportive of one another and helpful, and everyone else in the office is like a huge monster douche bro. So we're setting up Melanie Griffith on, clearly it's a date, but the dude is pretending like it's someone who needs an assistant. And she's like very wary of this, which obviously means it's happened to her character before.
Yeah.
And I will say, quick aside, related to the movie though, I don't think Melanie Griffith is a very good actor.
I don't either.
But she's very good in this movie, and it's like kind of like my personal theory I like to call the Kate Hudson Corollary, which is like under the right circumstances, any actor can have an incredible performance.
Oh, Almost Famous?
Yes. Because like I think Kate Hudson in Almost Famous is spectacular. And I think Kate Hudson is a thoroughly average actress. Sorry, Goldie and Kurt. We love you. This is not a slight to you. She's perfectly fine.
I called Goldie Hawn's cameo at the end of that stupid Santa movie.
Yeah, you did. Also, you just spoiled that for anyone who didn't watch it, but that's okay.
It's not a plot point.
I mean, it's the best part of that movie.
The ending. That's reassuring.
I mean, it's not a very good movie.
It's not.
Stupid.
It's not.
Just like most of what Netflix makes.
I feel like their TV shows are better than their movies.
How many of them have you watched?
Netflix originals, like a hand. I mean, Stranger Things, Sabrina, Bonding. I really liked.
That's 3 of the like 65,000. They make some pretty trashy trash.
No, I'm saying I think they have better luck with their TV, with their like episodic, than their movies.
Maybe. Anyway, Melanie Griffith really good in this movie. Outside of this movie, not great.
I tried to look up like what I was like. What would I know her from? Answer is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen at least one other thing that she's in, kind of like in a throwaway. But like, I just, most of what she was in were things where they were like, "Hey, you have a great body. Let's see it naked." Like that's the majority of what she was in.
I'm like
this.
Honestly a little surprised this isn't Meg Ryan.
Yeah, no, it might be a little early for Meg Ryan, maybe, or maybe she was busy doing Sleepless in Seattle
or the Harry Met Sally. She could.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes, yeah, that's the one I meant. Not Sleepless in Seattle in the 90s. Anyway,
no, Sleepless in Seattle's I think late 80s, and You've Got Mail is the 90s, isn't it?
Oh, I thought You've Got Mail was like 2001-ish. Anyway, that's not about this movie. We gotta knock that off. So she's getting set up on this date. We cut to she's going home for a surprise birthday party that she knows about because she's smart and figured it out. And surprise party, cut to Alec Baldwin like waiting in bed for her, and
this is one of two really. I mean, so I watched this on Cinemax, so maybe it was a TV edit, but there are two really weird edits. One of them is right after this scene, and the other one is right before the wedding, or the wedding they crash. Yeah. Where it's just like someone says something that isn't a button on a scene, and then it just like quick fade to black.
No, that happens in the DVD version as well.
Okay.
Which I got from my local library. I didn't know this was on Showtime, or I would have used the mom and dad's account to watch it.
Mom recorded it.
Oh, for you?
Yeah, I guess, because I like typed "working girl" and it was like, "This is recorded," and I was like, "Okay, Mom, thanks."
She was very, very adamant that we do this movie. Anyway, very sexy looking Alec Baldwin. So
oh my god,
he's going to be
primo Baldwin.
But you're immediately sure he's going to be a huge piece of shit. It's like, you are way too attractive and way too shirtless for you to be a good guy in this movie. Good guys would be in a sweatshirt. This guy is sleeping around. I guarantee.
In the 80s. In the year 2015, 19, he plays a nerd with that body.
Yeah, no, absolutely he does. And we'll talk about Harrison Ford momentarily, or maybe not momentarily, but a little later as well on that same thing. I was like, he's in very good shape, but he is not in 2020s era, whatever we're in now, 20-teens era, hunky dudes.
Yeah. I also, hot take, thought Alec Baldwin's character could have been cut out of this movie, and you would have lost nothing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just
except
like one
precious
obstacle.
Time.
Yeah, it's just one extra obstacle in the movie. I don't think it adds that much. And it really, honestly, only serves to introduce the conflict between her and Joan Cusack, which I didn't care for. But yeah, we'll get there too. So he's on a very small bed. Like, it looks like their bed, her bed. I'm not sure. I think later they say our apartment.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're sharing a twin bed. It's like, hey, I know New York's expensive, but my God, at least a full? A full. You can afford a full.
Get rid of the bed frame. Don't buy a bed frame. Just buy 2 mattresses at that point.
Right. Like, something better than this. But he's doing that, and he's like watching her put on the lingerie he bought her for her birthday. And it's like, hey, girl, if your birthday gift is lingerie that you didn't ask for, you should probably DTMFA.
What?
Dump the motherfucking asshole.
D. I thought you said G. I was like, get the motherfucker
DTMFA.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, because she even says, like, I would like once a present that I can wear outside of this apartment. Smash cut to the next day.
Right. It's very odd. And then she's
in a limo with America's garbage bag.
Well, I was like, oh, what a shock. Kevin Spacey's playing a huge piece of shit in a movie. Oh my God, how out of character.
Right? Yeah. Doing coke out in the open in front of God on a Tuesday.
Yes, it's a Tuesday afternoon. He's snorting coke. He's got a bottle of champagne between his knees, and he's like, "Oh, when we get to the hotel, we'll talk about that thing." And she's like, "We're going to a hotel, like the bar?" And he's like, "No, I have a room. They let us use it when they're not entertaining clients." And I was like, "This is why Wall Street is the worst. They had just a standing room at a fancy hotel that they had every day.
Yep.
What? Burn it to the ground.
Burn it, salt it, start again."
Like, come on. That is too much money. You should not have a standing hotel room to use for nonsense for your executives.
At the Ritz-Carlton.
So he is like, oh, okay, fine. You want business training? Let me put on this business training tape. And she's like, good. I would like to learn something in this limousine instead of being fondled and or groped, I should say.
That's sort of a shade of gray.
Yeah, well, no, I for some reason in my head for a second, I was like, that implied that it was consensual. It was non-consensual touching.
I don't think fondling and groping. Neither.
As soon as I said it, I was like, both of those are synonyms. They're both bad. You were fine in the first place. Look, it's been a long day. So she's like, all right, yeah, great. Let's watch this thing. And he puts it on the tape, and it's just porn. It's a dude.
Straight up porn.
It's a dude and a woman in a pool, naked, fooling around. And you're just like, all right.
Honestly, though, kind of impressive that like it was what was happening was happening.
The maneuver in the pornographic film is kind of impressive.
Like, how is he not drowning? Like, what's happening?
Yes, but also
gross.
Wildly awful. You gross
Kevin
piece
Spacey,
of crap.
you are garbage. Like the garbage of garbage.
My only issue with this scene is, or the character's actions in the scene is, she's holding this bottle of like Veuve Clicquot, or however you say it. I obviously don't speak for. There you go. Or like Dom Perignon, whatever it is. It's a very expensive bottle of champagne. She like yells at the driver to pull over, which he does, thankfully, like one decent human being in this movie.
Thank God.
And she sprays him with the champagne, and I was like, girl, the move is you take that bottle of champagne and one of the champagne glasses and are like, I'll see you later. I'm going to drink this while I hitchhike home or whatever. Like, don't waste this on his face. He's an asshole. Not. But you deserve that bottle of champagne. Take it.
And you know there's like another one in there. Take that one.
Absolutely,
take the unopened one.
Exactly. It's a waste of good champagne is all I'm saying. And she deserved to drink it after this horrible experience.
Yes.
So we cut back to the next day at the office, and she like is typing on the ticker and is like, Oliver Platt has a small dick and is an asshole, and puts it up on the thing, which I thought was really fantastic.
That's a great move. I also like didn't know it was going to become like she job hops, so I thought this was going to be like a kind of a playful like thing. Because I feel like in a movie today, this is like a playful move. This is like, oh, you bitch, and then like backspace. Let's get back to work.
Yeah. No, this is like, hey, this is the third time I've had to move you for disciplinary reasons.
Olympia Dukakis.
Oh, it is. You're right.
I saw her and got very happy because I love Steel Magnolias.
Well, she is only in this movie for 37 seconds.
She's one of several cameos.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey's role is over. Like that's it. He was in the limo. He tried to get a feeler up. She's rejected him. They watched a porn tape for 9 seconds. She sprayed him with champagne, and then he took that limo out of the movie.
The best is on Wikipedia. It says the cast list on the page, and among them is listed. The cast is listed Kevin Spacey as a coke-addled arbiter or whatever his name is. Whatever his job is. Yeah. And then underneath all of the listings, it says, also notable cameos include Olympia Dukakis. And I was like, they were on screen the same amount of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Olympia Dukakis also deserves a thing.
She probably has more lines than Spacey does.
Oh, for sure.
So at this point, she's like packing up and talking to her friends. And this is the part where I was like, oh my God, the fashion choices in this are so buck wild. Because this is when Sigourney comes in, and she's got on this like houndstooth wide shoulder pad thing.
I loved it.
And the other women in the office have like bright colored pantsuits on, and the hair is huge, and
skirt suits.
Yeah. And Melanie Griffith has on all this gold jewelry that's jingling and jangling all over the place. But it's just so many patterns. That's the thing that is the buck wild.
A lot of patterns.
Like, so many patterns. There's a houndstooth and a checkerboard and whatever. And it's just like, oh my gosh, so many patterns here.
I adore Sigourney Weaver. I think she's amazing and wonderful.
Yeah.
I wish she wasn't so immediately obviously evil in this movie.
They kind of try to save it later, and I was like, whoa, this is like a crazy turn for the way they'd written this character, and then it turned out to be kind of nothing.
Oh, are you talking about when she gets back from the...
Yeah. And like, we'll get to that in a second. I'm not trying to like shut you up, obviously, but like, I was kind of feeling the same way. I was like, oh man, she's so overtly a jerk. But then I was thinking about it, and I'm guessing that in that era, to be the lone woman on equal footing with a man in one of these positions, like, you kind of had to act like one of them, and they were all assholes.
I agree. But I just meant for storytelling purposes.
Yeah, it would be much more interesting if she was nicer, and then the sort of twist was that she was secretly a dick the whole time.
Yeah, because I feel like the twist that, like, you know, because she tells Melanie Griffith, like, hey, I want to be partners, we're equals, like, any idea you have, tell me. Like, right. It's a two-way street. But there's, constantly a tone and a feeling and a cadence to her voice that says, like, I'm evil and gonna screw you over.
And I don't think it's a bad performance from Sigourney, I just think it's, like, for this movie, too big. Right? Like, she's almost playing, like, her evil character from Cabin in the Woods.
I was going to say, she's a little Cabin in the Woodsy or a little, that Netflix Marvel show where all of them got the Avengers show on Netflix where everyone got together.
I did not watch that, but I didn't know
Defenders
was in it.
Defenders,
She was in that?
Yeah. She was the big bad in Defenders.
How about that?
And everyone was like...
It's a good thing Netflix advertised that part of it.
Well, she was kind of like a reveal. But I remember everyone was like, this show is... they're like, the show isn't great, and you don't like Sigourney Weaver's character. You just like Sigourney Weaver. And I thought about it, and I was like, that's true. I couldn't tell you one because everyone was like, "Tell me one thing about her character," and it was like, "She's played by Sigourney Weaver," and they're like, "Okay."
She also, in just a real cool actual life move, went to that high school in New Jersey that performed Alien. They did like a remount of their play on Alien Day at the end of April, and she went and like introduced the play, met all the kids, and like it's just a genuinely pretty good person. And also like kudos to, I guess Fox was still independent when it first happened, and or Disney and or whomever for not suing these children. Because,
Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver came to their defense.
Yes, no, I agree, but also like it very easily could have been like, "Hey, you can't do that. We're suing you." Like it would be the very logical move, and it's just like very cool for everyone to be like, "Hey, you are not taking any money out of our pockets by building an alien suit out of trash and doing a cool thing at your school."
Yeah, we just talked about that today at the theater, and like parody law, and you need at least 10%. I think 10% change in order to count as parody law.
Right, this is not a parody. This is like a just straight up alien.
Straight up, and that's why Sigourney Weaver and Ridley Scott were like, no. You will not touch these children. Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so she's the big boss, and she's throwing a big party to be like, "Hey, I've arrived." And she's got...
that's the other weird thing about her character. It was like, she acts like she's established as this like heavy hitter in the world of investment banking, I guess.
Arbitrage is the field that they do. I do not know what that is.
I don't either. But also she's like, and I just blew into town. I'm living with my parents' house, and da 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 da. But again, I was like, are you an established heavy hitter? I'm confused.
Right. I think she was probably poached from another firm. Is the feeling that I got.
Oh, okay.
But she's throwing this big party, and there's a woman in there who's like, "Oh, like here's our catering company. Here's where you can buy the booze from." And Melanie Griffith's like, "Actually, I was just reading about dim sum being kind of like a hot thing, and I feel like we could do it if we booked it from this place. We should do some dim sum." And Sigourney Weaver's like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty good." And the other woman is like fuming that they're not going to have their whatever terrible catering that they normally have.
Shrimp puffs.
Yeah. Cut to one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Melanie Griffith pushing around. It reminded me of Roar. Of like Melanie Griffith and Melanie Griffith probably would like rather have shot this scene 5,000 takes than do one more take of Roar, but she's pushing around the steam tray of dumplings that for some reason is like blowing steam at her. It's almost
her poor face is all sweaty.
Yeah, it's almost like a scene out of Better Off Dead.
Yeah, it had that otherworldly, dreamy Heathers feel.
Yeah, that's just like, this is not how this works. Like, yeah, you'd be probably sweating from having to push it around, but she's like getting like a steam facial every 30 seconds as she hands out these dim sum dumplings.
And like, see, this is another thing where like, if Sigourney Weaver's character hadn't been, so obviously evil, these little moments where, Melanie Griffith is like, "Can I stop serving these dim sum?" And she's like, "Oh, you know what? I think you should make a couple more rounds and then stop. I wish I could help you, but I can't. Bye." Yeah.
Especially because that scene comes right after this slime ball is like trying to get in Sigourney's pants, and Melanie Griffith kind of uses the dumpling cart to get him out of there. And it's a character actor who you would recognize and is probably on one of those cop shows or something, but I can't remember his name. And he's literally only in this one scene, again, with the like parade of character actors that you are, or not even character actors, just actors in general that you're familiar with. But I was like, "Oh, that's that guy." And then I was like, "I'll look him up when he comes back on screen so I can get his character name." Oh, he's never in the movie again.
He's gone.
So, Melanie Griffith presents her idea of like, hey, it's actually a very, like, from writing a movie standpoint, it's a very clever plan that does two things. One, lets the audience know that this person is clever, and two, is immediately obvious to the audience that it makes sense. Like, what she says makes total perfect sense and is easily digested by the audience.
Yeah.
So it's just like really excellent writing where it's like, hey, this group of people is, one, constantly fending off takeover from an international company, and two, has been looking to get into broadcasting. Well, they haven't been able to find a TV station. Why don't we suggest they buy some radio stations? Because the FCC prevents foreign ownership. So if they own radio stations, they'll, one, be in the broadcasting business like they want, and two, fend off overseas ownership, which is just like really good screenwriting.
Simple and clean.
Yes, like I understood it. I don't know jack about business, but I understood her plan. It makes sense and is logical. And you see if like it's a little bit outside the box thinking, so it shows you that she's clever. And it just like it's just really good, solid writing, which we don't see that much in the.
Yeah, this movie was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's like a really well written script. I didn't like love this movie, but I think it's excellent.
It's
like
solid.
It's the difference between like what you think is the best and what is your personal favorite. I think it just is going to be the ultimate deciding factor for me on this one.
That's fair.
But this writing is excellent. Like there's so many scenes in this movie where like just a couple lines of dialogue or a short interaction between two characters reveals so much of the bigger picture and is just like really good. Like excellent screenwriting. Melanie Griffith is presenting this to Sigourney Weaver as she's like helping her try on her ski boots, these like big clunky plastic jobbers.
And like it's a very, again, a scene that has subtle like, you're subservient to me. Don't forget this. Click my boots together.
Yes. And then even beyond that, she's like, oh, did you call and get my room? And she's like, I called, but they don't have anything available. And she's like, did you tell them it was for me? Give me the phone. And then Sigourney hops on the phone and starts speaking in this other language,
German.
like completely fluently. Is it German? Okay. It seemed like German, but I was like, maybe it's Dutch because skiing is probably not in Germany. I didn't know.
It sounded like German to me.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it. I thought it was assuming, I don't know what they speak in Switzerland, but, you know, I was thinking Alps skiing somewhere over there is probably, in any case, she's like totally fluent in this language. And Melanie Griffith, in one of the many instances of this movie where she's like got a lot going on as an actress, has like, oh, I just screwed up so bad. Like you can totally read it in her face as Sigourney Weaver like does this rapid fire to be like, oh, I want a suite in the chateau or whatever the hell. It's just really lovely. But to your point of like the framing of the scene is such like a dominant, subservient, like Melanie Griffith's on the floor, you know, it just
shot
really,
from
really,
above. And Sigourney Weaver is constantly shot from below. So she's big and imposing. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It almost reminded me like had notes of like The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah. You know, that was what I was thinking the whole time I was watching this movie is The Devil Wears Prada is almost a remake of this.
It's very similar. It's sort of, and like this movie felt very 9 to 5, except with a female villain.
Yeah, I agree.
So Sigourney Weaver says, there's a man, you know, I've been seeing for a while. I think he's going to pop the question. We're going to go skiing. Smash cut to Sigourney Weaver skiing on a mountain.
80s ski clothes are such an aesthetic. They are such a ridiculous
isn't that when like
thing.
après ski was a thing? Was the 80s?
I don't know what après ski is.
So après ski in French literally means after skiing. And it was this whole aesthetic of like what you would wear in the ski lodge. So it's like Fair Isle sweaters with like big chunky knits and prints.
Yeah, I guess that's it. But I'm speaking specifically of like ski sportswear that we like saw in Better Off. Was it Better Off Dead that has a ski competition or the other one?
One of the John Cusacks.
Yeah, Better Off Dead. I think it's Better Off Dead that has a ski competition. But there's like a bunch of other 80s ski centric movies. It was like the hot thing back then. But the outfits are always these like sort of tracksuity, sort of not neoprene, I guess, but more like windbreakery material.
Yeah.
Always really bright colors.
That polyester.
And always like, yeah, but always like head to toe matching. So you look like a stick of deodorant. Like it's
all
just
one
a
color.
really, yeah, it's a really odd look. But she goes flying off a mountain like instantaneously, you know, screams as she falls. And we smash cut to her like in traction with her leg broken.
And she gives Melanie Griffith, she's like, hey, look, I'm going to be out of the office. And again, so I will admit that a lot of this movie, I kept thinking about Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
And like, there's the scene in Bob's Burgers where Bob's Burgers sort of goes a few beats through this movie. So I had a vague feeling of what was going to happen. And this is where
you also hadn't seen this before, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And this is where Tina is in bed and she's like, hey, I'm on a ski trip. We need you in the office for me. Also, I stole your idea for the radio acquisition project. So this is where she's like, Melanie Griffith, I need you to like take over. It's weird because it sounded like she was like, hey, I need you to take care of a few sides of business for me. But then it didn't seem like that's what she actually wanted. Yeah, no, she mostly has her like reject a bunch of RSVPs and stuff. Yeah, it's weird. So she's like, Melanie Griffith, that is in Sigourney's house and like doing this job for her. And she sees Sigourney has like totally ganked her idea, presented it as her own, and has it on this presentation or email. I guess it's an email. I don't really can't tell what the thing is. Yeah, it's hard to, I don't know electronic
I guess it's
mail.
just note taking. I guess it's just like notes or like her files, her digital files. But she has like, hey, I'm going to steal this radio plan, basically written in green and black.
Yeah, and also on her tape recorder that she has.
Yes. So Melanie Griffith gets all steamed over this, as she has every right to, and she leaves to go home, and there's like the telltale sounds of rhythmic bumping coming from her bedroom, and she's like, well, that's odd, and she opens the door, and Alec Baldwin is literally having sex with someone else in their shared twin bed. Yeah,
is that what the phrase you always used?
I think he is going to Bone Town, literally. And he starts being like, I can explain, this isn't what it looks like. And it's like,
are you sure?
You are literally inside another person right now. Perhaps this is not the moment to do, hey, this isn't what it looks like.
Because then he goes, okay, so it is what it looks like, but I can explain. Okay, so I can't explain.
Yeah.
And Melanie Griffith leaves, and he runs after her. And
then starts cussing her out.
Yeah, he's like, come back and hit me. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
You're weird, buddy.
Yeah. So she like recruits Joan Cusack and is like, all right, I'm going to wear her clothes. I'm going to go to this party. I'm going to pitch this radio idea. And Joan Cusack is like, well, I think this is a bad idea. Never mind. These clothes are amazing. Let's steal them. Also, here's a Valium that I found in the medicine cabinet. You should take it. Who knows what the dosage is? Bye.
Yeah, because Melanie Griffith had set up a meeting with someone, and then also for the next day, and then knew they were going to be at a party that night. So she was like, "I'll get in early and work a little magic so that the meeting can go smoothly."
Yeah.
And at the party, she meets Harrison Ford. Is that right?
Yep.
Oh, thank God. I was like, "Is that who that is?" She meets Harrison Ford, and it's so weird. He's playing it like he's the villain of the movie. Like he's kind of creepy,
so
kind of sleazy. And I'm like, but you're supposed to be the one we like.
Right.
Confusing.
So he starts like schmoozing with her and she's like, hi, my name is, and he's like, no names, no business cards. Just like, let's have a real drink and just have this experience. And she's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, 2 double Jose Cuervo shots, please. Oh, good. Just vomiting everywhere.
It's
my favorite.
Every douche nozzle who's tried to hit on me being like, let's just have a human experience. Vomit in your face. Don't talk to me ever again. Nope. Hipster nonsense.
Here's the thing. In the environment that he probably exists day to day, I could totally see him being like, I'm Jack or whatever, and being like, let's just go first names and not talk about business. That's like a perfectly fine thing to say, as opposed to the attack that he takes, which is like super sleazy slimeball feeling. And then he orders 8 shots of tequila for them to take immediately.
Yeah, I was not a fan.
They do a double each and then another double each.
And it ends up between Valium and 4 shots of tequila.
Yeah, like, get out of here.
AKA most people's white party.
Yeah.
She's like, I need to leave, and sees someone from the office at coat check. So she's like, can you get my coat? I'm going to be outside. And he goes outside and she's passed out in a taxi, like legs out.
Yes. The taxi driver, by the way, is so very New York in that he's like, I don't care, which is shocking because I would have thought he would have just left her on the sidewalk.
No, she was inside the cab.
I know. I would have thought the driver would have been like, well, you just passed out in my cab. I'm going to dump your corpse on the street and drive away.
That would have been better if Harrison Ford came out as he's like pulling her out of the cab, like, nope.
Hey, guy, I got water and mints back there if you want. Oh, you're unconscious now. Well,
please don't throw up in my Uber.
I'm just gonna put you to the side here on this bag of trash and hope that the Rat King doesn't eat you.
So he takes her to his house because he can't.
Well, first he tries to get her address, and she's like, "The park," and he's like, "No, that's not it."
She's like, "There's some trees in this park. I live there." And so he takes her to his place, and like at first he like props her up in a chair, and he's like, "I guess a night." No, it's like wonderfully awkward because this is clearly the first time he's ever had to deal with this. So he's like,
yeah,
do you want a nightcap? No, that's probably a bad idea. Coffee, you're a little far gone for coffee. I don't know what to do.
And then he offers her tea, and then he's being like, I don't have tea. I like this scene. I do. I really do.
Except for the ending.
Yes, but here's the bigger beef that I have. I don't believe that Harrison Ford is this guy.
You don't think he could be a nice guy?
I don't. No, but it's not. It's like, it's not played as he's a nice guy. It's he's normally not and doesn't know what to do.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Like, it's, to me, this scene comes off as like, normally I would just take you to bed and have sex with your unconscious body, but you seem cool and I don't want to do that. And I like, maybe that's just the way I read it, but it was like someone who,
no, that's not crazy.
Because like someone who is not that guy has been in this situation with a platonic friend, like a man, or if they're straight or whatever, like a person they have no intention of sleeping with, just a friend who has had too much to drink and has like taken care of that drunk friend. Like if you are the good, nice guy, you've done this before in a completely non-sexual environment. So when it happens with someone who you were sexually interested in, you know the playbook, you know that just like, okay, here's the 3 moves I have to make now is like give you some comfortable clothes. If I can't do that, then at least like take your shoes off and like do my best to like arrange you to be comfortable and put a blanket on you and like leave clothes there. So if you wake up, you can change out of this or whatever. But it's like, he's like desperately trying to be a good guy, even though he doesn't want to, is the way that it came off to me.
You're not wrong.
Like you said, I thought he was like another villain at this point. Like the scene that led to this, and then this part, I was like, oh man, like who's the good guy in this movie? Like, is there another love interest that's gonna get introduced?
It's Joan Cusack. Joan Cusack is the only good guy in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. But he is, like, to be fair, like 9/10 of what he does is good guy moves here. I don't agree with taking some stranger's dress off.
That upset me.
Like,
that he was like, yeah, I got you. I took off your clothes. Like, if she woke up like in a sweatshirt over her dress, I think that's more in line with like, I'm not gross and I wanted you to be comfortable.
Right. Or like a really huge t-shirt or something, and then like the top
like
of her
a Kathy
dress
cartoon
button.
and a coffee mug.
Right, but like you do that, and then you like open the top button of the back of the dress to be like a little bit of comfort, and then it's like, that's as far as I'm going. Your clothes are still on. I put the t-shirt on so you can slide the dress off later.
And then slept in the bed with her. Like,
yes, that's the part that grossed me out.
Like,
yes.
It'd be one thing if she woke up in her underwear in the bed and he was like on the couch.
Yes,
like that's slightly more acceptable, but still weird.
Yes, you either put her on the couch and you take the bed, or you put her in the bed and you take the couch. But the move that you chose is gross. Like, the move that you chose is she's going to wake up and think that she slept with you while she was blacked out.
Yes, which is what happens.
Right. All the time. Like, you did the move that a shitty person does. You did a non-shitty thing and then put yourself in a position to look shitty.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, bro.
So she sneaks out very, very logically. And then, the next day she's like heading into work, and she's so chill for someone who like probably thinks she got roofied, right?
Well, no, because she knows she took a Valium,
I guess. But her,
and like you have
Joan
to imagine
Cusack
that mixing Valium with 4 shots of tequila isn't great. Like that's not a recipe for staying awake.
I've never taken a Valium, so I couldn't tell you specifically, but like I'm aware of it. But it just seemed like Joan Cusack was so nonchalant about the Valium that maybe she wouldn't put the two together. I don't know. So it's the big meeting the next day, and oh, wouldn't you know it, Harrison Ford's there, and she presents her plan, and they all dismiss it like dicks, like, we're not looking for TV, we're not looking for radio, we're trying to do TV, get out of here, this is useless. Cut to Harrison Ford like coming to her office now that he knows who she is, because she left her briefcase at his place, and Joan Cusack has to
he didn't. So she said when she came to the meeting, oh, I forgot my briefcase. That's why she's using like a big accordion file. So he shows up with a new briefcase. Like he bought her one.
Oh, it's a new briefcase. Okay. I thought she left her briefcase at his house.
No, because it was like a cocktail party. She didn't have a briefcase.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you know what? She probably just didn't
have one.
Yeah, she just doesn't have one because she doesn't need one. Yeah, okay. Matt, I'm all on board now. But this is like the best part of the movie, Joan Cusack wise, your favorite. Obviously your favorite part of the movie, that she like quickly jumps in to help this ruse where Melanie Griffith is the boss and Joan Cusack is her secretary, and she does the classic, like, can I get anything? Coffee, tea, me? And Melanie Griffith shoots her, like, devil eyes, which is like, I was like, wait, don't you think this guy's a huge piece of crap? Like, I'm confused about how you feel right now.
Yeah, I think it was more like, that's not professional.
Yeah.
Joan Cusack is, she's dressed like an 80s mess, and I'm obsessed.
Yeah,
she's got like
really...
bright blue eyeshadow with pink in the inner corner and these like massive shoulder pads and this stupid wispy cotton candy hair.
Yeah, it's delightfully weird. And then Harrison Ford is like, nothing happened. And she's like, well, I was naked. He's like, well, I closed my eyes. Okay, I didn't close my eyes, but still. And it was like, well, buddy, like you had so many options to not come off gross here.
Like you're reading like a real capital N, nice capital G-Y T-M.
Yeah. I'm a nice guy. That is my problem. You put the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head there. Of like his character is written as capital N, capital G, nice guy, and you're just like, it gives me the shivers. Like the guy who like thinks that I checked all these boxes, ergo I get this woman, and it's just like, no, that's not how this works.
Tips his fedora and says, "Milady," like you're garbage.
Right. And he's the only person on Earth who can pull off wearing a fedora.
Yeah. Oh, that is a fedora. I never think of Indiana Jones' hat as a fedora, but yeah.
It is. He's like the only person on Earth who looks awesome in a fedora.
I mean, I think the Rat Pack.
So that's more of a trilby, isn't it? Didn't Sinatra and them have the smaller brim?
So I thought fedoras were more like Rat Pack and like Freddy Krueger, and that Indiana Jones had a different feel, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think...
Said the one who is the costume designer.
A trilby has a narrow brim, and I thought that's what Sinatra and those guys wore.
Oh, maybe.
The hats that got like moderately popular 4 or 5 years ago that everyone called fedoras...
Were trilbies.
Trilbies, yeah. I think of the fedora as like the wider, like mob movie brim.
Yeah.
I guess this picture, I'm looking at a picture of Sinatra. He's wearing a fedora here. All right. Sinatra can also pull off the fedora. Okay. Past 1980. How about that? Yeah, he's wearing fedoras in most of these photos, not trilbies. Anyway, one of the few people who can pull off wearing a fedora. Let's call it that. But he's like, hey, look, I like your idea. Also, I want to date you. And she's like, okay, one thing at a time. If
you can pick one, and I'm going to pick the idea.
Yeah. So they have this cute little tete-a-tete where he's like, and it's this part I didn't find creepy, where he's like kind of being playful about like, okay, well, how about this? And she's like, no. And then he does accept no as an answer, which I liked. And then later mostly treats this relationship as business until like a turning point, but mostly is okay. What's that?
But till it like bubbles over.
Yeah, exactly. So we cut to Joan Cusack's engagement party, and of course Alec Baldwin is there because all their friends are mutual friends. Of course.
Yeah. So the right before the end of the previous scene was the annoying woman who wanted the not dim sum for the party was like, I need to use Sigourney Weaver's computer. And I thought
she's been on the show before. I didn't look her up, but I swear we've done movies that woman has been in. She plays this like very same type of character in other things that I can't place. Like she's not the woman from 9 to 5, but she seems like her.
That's what I was saying. She seems like her character was supposed to be like, I'm gonna catch, I have a thing. I think Tess McGill is being sneaky, but that never happened.
I thought so too. No, I also thought that it was. I wonder if that like got cut because this movie was already too long.
It's 2 hours long. And like I said, I think you could cut Alec Baldwin and make it a nice hour 45.
Yeah, and honestly, the change from like, oh, you were in a bad relationship to, oh, you don't have any relationship because you concentrate on work too much is not that significant difference as a character motivator, I don't think.
It's not. And also, he cheated on her. She walked in on him in the act. And no one seems to give a shit.
Yeah, nobody cares whatsoever.
And to the point where at one point during the party, they're like, when are you two going to get engaged? And Alec Baldwin proposes to her. And when she says, she like doesn't say yes because she doesn't want to like out everything. So she's like, ask another time. He gets mad at her and she's like, hey, buddy, remember that time I walked in on you in someone? Because I do.
Yeah, you gross asshole.
And then he's like, you know what? You're ridiculous. We're through. And it was like, you've been through. She said that.
There's this moment, and again, like talking about how she's like her performance in this is fabulous. She does this like little half smile at that moment, which is like, to me, her realizing like, oh, well, I win. Like it doesn't, if you want to walk away feeling like you won, that's fine. But ultimately you're out of my life and that's what I wanted. So I win. Like, cool. Whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better is fine, but I won.
Yeah.
Also, that actress, I looked her up while you were talking, Nora Dunn, who was on Saturday Night Live for like 5 years, 85 to 1990.
Oh.
So that's definitely what I know her from. But she has not been on it. She's only in, this is actually the first thing she was ever in.
Okay. I probably know her from something.
Probably SNL reruns, I would guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, she also played like a lot of moms in the 90s and such.
I can see that. So
anyway,
Joan Cusack visits her at work the next day because I guess Joan Cusack can just visit whenever.
I feel like they work in the same office on different floors.
That was never explained. The movie didn't explain that. TM.
Well, later there's a part where Joan Cusack like gets a phone call from Melanie Griffith, and she like tells all the other secretaries like, "Oh my God, she's in an office. She did it."
Oh
and
yeah.
I thought that all those women seemed to know Melanie Griffith, so I don't know. Also, wait, quick side note before we go too far ahead. 2 party notes. One, they're like, Alec Baldwin is like really thrilled that he bought a boat. Like, they're listing off good things that have happened. He's like, well, I finally got that boat. And she's like so excited about this boat, which I thought was very silly. And then just a really nice piece of set decoration. The table full of presents. There are 2 Weber hibachi grills, which I thought was lovely. There's always a duplicate gift at those kind of occasions. And I just love that they did that. Like, I thought that was actually like not a mistake. I thought that was definitely on purpose. It's like, no, someone always buys the same thing as someone else at the party. You should put 2 of them on there. I thought that was really good.
That's really clever. I never noticed that.
But yes, so
this is where the
this is shirtless Harrison Ford, right?
Yes, and this is one of the many moments where Melanie Griffith is pretending to be her own secretary by doing a Long Island voice.
Yes,
but
yeah. She sounds so much like Cyndi Lauper from Vibes.
Yeah, but she's not doing anything else. She's not like dropping her voice down or like pitching it up. It's just her voice with an accent. And I was like, how is no one noticing that? Like, it's basically the equivalent of like, thank you for calling, Trask Industries. Let me get you Andrew. Hi, how are you doing? Like, that's clearly the same person.
Yeah, I think you'd fool more people than you'd think.
So he's changing
he's like wiping out his armpits with a paper towel. But this is right after this, he goes and films Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is like the final, what he thinks is the final indie movie. He will be wrong, but
it's the last in the trilogy, right?
The original ones, yes. I'm just saying they made another one and they're about to do it again. But
they are? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Temple of Doom is coming in 2020 on this podcast when they put out that Indiana Jones movie. But this is like the 3rd leg of the second biggest trilogy, maybe third. I don't know, like box office wise, how Star Wars, Back to the Future, and Last Crusade ran. Oh, Back to the Future wouldn't have had Part 3 out until 1990. So
Jaws.
This is the maybe. Yeah, I guess 3 Jaws.
Star Wars, Jaws, and Indy.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think Jaws necessarily. I don't know. I don't know what the box offices were, but I'm not trying to get in. All I'm saying is, if you're talking about action blockbusters, this is like enormous. He's in Star Wars as well, so he's in this is easily the biggest movie star on the planet, the biggest action movie, whatever action adventure movie, and he looks like an in shape guy, and it's like. So we talk about this so much, and but it always amazes me. Of like, he looks great, like he's got muscle definition, and he looks awesome. But you look at like a C-team player in one of these Marvel movies, like the backup bad guy or whatever, and they look like ripped, 0% body fat, and he's just
insane.
Like, yeah, he's just like a good looking in shape dude. Like it's so different now, and it's crazy. But he's like washing out his armpits and stuff in the office, and all of the women of the office are like watching him change and oohing at him. And
all his blinds are open. It's great.
Yeah,
he doesn't realize.
Like a fish. Yeah, a fish in a fishbowl. It's like a fun little subplot of Harrison Ford roles in the 80s of like women throwing themselves at him as he is befuddled by it.
Yeah, you're right.
It happens in Indiana Jones too. Yeah.
The I love you eyelids.
Yes. So he's like, all right, look, I think I got a breakthrough on this deal. Let's meet up and talk about it. And she's like formulating a plan to crash this wedding to talk to one of the major players of the deal because she can't get direct access to him any other way. And that's what's stymieing this. So there's this kind of funny scene where they're eating a hot dog, like in a huge crowd of people. And just from like a filmmaking standpoint, like the wrangling of all these extras and the way that they film this scene makes it feel like claustrophobic, New York City street at lunchtime kind of deal. And he's like eating a hot dog and then yelling at her, like, are you trying to cut me out of this deal? And it's like, oh, this is like, he's treating you like a business partner.
He's got a piece of like roll on the side of his mouth.
Yeah. There's a piece of hot dog roll just like on the corner of his mouth. It's really good. But he's like, they have this little spat and she's like, no, like, I'm not trying to cut you out of the deal. I just like, I have this crazy plan. And he's like, well, I'm coming then. And so they crash this wedding together.
But she doesn't say we're crashing a wedding. She's like, I just have an idea. And it's this really weird wedding that like kind of makes me uncomfortable as a white person.
Yeah, it's very racist. They have like a sort of white invader to the islands theme, I guess.
It's kind of what it looks like. That's not wrong. It's just weird and uncomfortable.
Like it's one thing to do like tiki and tropical drinks, and like that's definitely cultural appropriation, but it's also like kind of a weird mishmash of cultures you're appropriating. This one is like, oh, the only people of color at this wedding will be people dressed as servants.
Yeah,
Oh, we also skipped. There is a brief scene between this, like going to the wedding, where Joan Cusack like berates her for not getting back together with Alec Baldwin, who again she caught in flagrante derelicto. Like, can we just she's like, let her move on?
She's even like, you aren't even letting him try and fix this, which isn't like you. And I'm like, why should she?
How about he fixes his way into a wood chipper so I don't have to look at him ever again? Like, F that guy. So we're at the big wedding, and the general attire of the wedding is also really fabulous. Like, that's what's fun about this movie is like you're getting business attire, you're getting casual attire, you're getting a peek at lingerie of the decade, and then you're getting formal wear. Like, it's really like the whole gamut of fashion in this movie, and all of it is crazy.
And this is where Harrison Ford gets real smooth with a bridesmaid, and he's like, "Oh, tell me you don't forget who I am." And she instantly is like,
maximum charm.
She's like, "Yeah, of course I do." Duh. So that Melanie Griffith can talk to the dad and be like, "Hey, here's business." Which, like, imagining that happening to our father, he would be so angry so fast.
Yeah, I think so. This guy is into it. He's like, suddenly, let's make a deal, wheel and dealing. But yeah, no,
he's one of the sharks on Shark Tank.
Yeah,
but like, exactly. I'm imagining someone at like Gig and Emily's wedding, just like swooping into Dad and be like, "Hey, let's talk business," and he would be like, "Nope," dropped.
Yeah, go away. I don't want to talk to you. They also go at one point. She like runs off to this bathroom, and then Harrison Ford comes in to talk to her, and it is the pinkest Pepto-Bismol bathroom in the history of bathrooms.
But also like really pretty and comfy looking.
Yes, it does have a very nice couch, but also it just looks like someone put Pepto-Bismol into a paint sprayer. It's Pepto-Bismol in gold, the whole bathroom.
You're just making Steel Magnolias references without even knowing it now.
So through the dance, she scores the big meeting, at which point they're like, all right, we got work to do. So they go home, and Harrison Ford is just like casually smoking a cigar in this scene, which he never does at any other point in the movie.
I thought that was weird.
And I was like, does Harrison Ford just like cigars and wanted one in this scene? Which is like probably the explanation for it.
Yeah, at this point in his career.
They're like sitting at a table going over the numbers and like, doing all this research and stuff. And he's just like, he doesn't even smoke it, I don't think. He's just holding a lit cigar during the scene. And this is like the first flicker of like love sleeping in there. They have a moment where they like kind of make eye contact and he's like, well, I guess we better get back to work then. And like, goes quickly back and starts shuffling papers.
Head down, shuffle.
Right.
And so they go to the meeting, and I think Melanie Griffith is wearing Sigourney Weaver's glasses?
Yes, I think so too.
Very weird.
But they're in a meeting with like some low-level executives at this organization, and those guys are like, no, we want a TV station. And she's like, yes, I understand that you want a television station.
I get it.
It's like, I have an idea to get you there. Like, you people are thinking small potatoes. I'm thinking outside the box. Like, please just listen to my presentation. And of course, they're like, yeah. Whatever, lady, get out of here. But somehow the phone rings and the big boss man is like, I want you to say yes to this. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, she's like, well, what was that about? And they're like, well, he heard and he wanted to do it. And she's like, what do you mean he heard?
I was so confused. Yeah. This was magic.
Is this room bugged? Because that's got a really upsetting implication, by the way.
So they get their meeting for the next day. And in bed, we find out that Harrison...
Well, they kiss in the lobby right now.
Oh, yeah. They make out. We find out in bed...
Actually, pause. If you've never seen the movie before, and you've been enjoying our conversation, and you think you're going to watch this movie, I honestly think you should stop listening here and just watch the movie. Because there is... And I guess this is, like, kind of a spoiler, but, like, there's a bit that's about to happen that I had no idea going into, and I, like... It landed really well for me. So just put it out there. This is like a big sort of thing.
We find out that Harrison Ford is the guy that Sigourney Weaver was supposed to go skiing with, and he stood her up.
And is like, I'm in this thing, but I'm not. Like, I've been trying to break it off, and she wanted to go on this vacation, and I didn't want to do it then, and I couldn't figure out when to do it. Then she broke her leg, and you're like, oh, shit.
But, like, I wish that there had been a seed or two planted before this. Like, when Sigourney Weaver called to say she broke her leg, she should have been like, and like on top of that, he never showed up.
Yeah,
like a little something to like plant the seed, because otherwise I was like, oh, it's just an unseen man.
Yeah. You also didn't mention that he's telling her this in the midst of their post-coital takeout, which I thought was like a really good guy move.
Yeah, it was interesting. Bold choice.
But just the fact that he's like, all right, I'm going to order some Chinese food now was very funny. Anyway.
Now, what did you want to tell me?
Yeah, exactly. Because she's about to confess that she is not really able to make this deal and she's just a secretary.
And then we get yet another Let the River Run instrumental.
Yeah, and a montage of like putting everything back together. Like Sigourney's coming back. And so now she has to like, get her house all back in order and everything.
And Sigourney Weaver comes back in a helicopter with a gorilla for some reason?
Yeah, giant stuffed gorilla.
Was Gorillas in the Mist before this or after this?
Oh, I don't know. You think it's just like a cute reference?
Maybe. I don't know. It should have been like a stuffed alien. Like a green alien.
Yeah. But they like go into the office and that memo is up on her computer and she's like, I hope that you didn't see this, but if you did, I just want to tell you that like my boyfriend... Mike Harrison Ford wouldn't look at a deal for somebody else because he'd be afraid of it being like stolen. So I had to say it was my idea so that he would look it over. And she's like, she convinced me enough, probably just because
I wrote passive aggressive sneaky snake Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, because I was like, well, again, I was like not sure what direction this movie was taking. So I was like, at this point, I was like, well, maybe she is telling the truth, although this is going to be a buck wild resolution. It turns out, no, she just got caught and lied her way out of it, but we don't know that yet.
She's like, because I'm sure if you did see it, you would have just asked me.
Right. Meanwhile, Harrison Ford arrives because she's like been like, hey, I haven't seen you in like a month. You should come have sex with me. And she's like in bed wearing lingerie with her
She made Melanie Griffith help her get into lingerie.
Yeah. And then cover her cast with a blanket. Like she's hiding it or something.
She also has 6 bottles of champagne in her mini fridge.
Yeah, I mean, I like her style.
And so Melanie Griffith is trying to leave because she realizes that Jack is on his way over. And Sigourney Weaver's like, no, you need to get my pills. So she does, and she like hides when she gets back so that he doesn't see her. And she hears him say like, look, he's trying to tell her there's someone else.
Right.
But he dances around. It's like, I have to go. And so Melanie Griffith is like, oh, okay. So there's a chance. Cool.
Yeah.
And when she goes to give her the pills, she accidentally leaves her, like, date book, and Sigourney Weaver reads it and sees what's happening and, like, flies off the handle.
Yeah, she figures it all out. Meanwhile, they're at the meeting to close this deal, and Sigourney, like, crutches her way into this meeting, like, kicks the door open, and is like, I had this idea, and she stole it from me. This is subterfuge at the highest order, and, like, makes a big scene.
She's a lowly secretary.
And then when she, like, Melanie Griffith pushes back and is like, that's not true at all. Sigourney, like, hilariously faints, like, over the top, like, fainting couch faints.
Oh, I need smelling salts.
So they all like run to, help her out. And then she basically steals the deal, kicks Melanie Griffith out of the room.
Which I thought was a weird choice for Melanie Griffith. Like, she seemed like she would have more pushback at this point.
Yeah, and I guess in the moment, like, couldn't figure out how to defend herself, which I think is, like, probably not insane, right?
Yeah.
That, like, she wouldn't have been expecting to have to make this declaration of innocence, but it is odd. Like, you'd think she would have been fast. Like, all of the rest of the movie leads...
This is the same character who, when she met Harrison Ford's character, gave the line, "I've got a head for business and a bod for sin," which I was like, that line came out of nowhere for me.
Right. And she's so quick on her feet through the rest of the movie and shown to be like such an interesting thinker that it surprised me that she didn't defend herself. But we do, because of that, get this amazing shot where she's like all sulky on a pier and like windswept as the sun goes down.
Yeah, it's like
It
beautiful.
is a beautiful shot, but also like just totally, an extra 45 seconds of the movie.
And also we had to go see a wedding scene where Joan Cusack gets married so that she and Alec Baldwin can talk again.
That would be a powder blue tux wedding. You should be specific.
Yeah, it is a beautifully ugly bridesmaid dress.
Well, no, the tuxedos are powder blue.
Oh, I know, but like both, I'm saying.
Yeah. And Alec Baldwin has that, like, I don't know, there's a term for it, but it's like, it's a kind of like a scarf, like but it's not.
An ascot?
But it's not tied. It's just around the shoulders. Men wear it with tuxedos often, I've seen. It's like a scarf. It probably has another word, but it's usually like white. Maybe that's what the word is. But it's white. Usually it looks like silk, but it's just like around the shoulders casually. But yeah, they have this like long back and forth, at which point we learn that
snip.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin he's got a new girlfriend or fiance, I guess. But I don't know if you noticed this watching it, but and I keep finding like really small technical details to be impressed by in this movie, but the sound mix here is like really loud heels clacking on the pavement, and it like really enhances the awkwardness of this conversation with like how loud the heels are and like punctuating the silence with this like click clack of other people.
I did not notice that.
About. I thought it was really well done. It was like a really small thing, but analyzing it as you're watching it, like the way that they use the sound of other people having this joyous occasion around these two people having like a really awkward, tough time, I really thought was great.
Yeah. So now she's clearing out her office or for her desk, and the whole office loves her.
Yeah, no, she's like the biggest star.
Sigourney's little toady never comes back like we thought she was going to.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't think about that until just now, but she really doesn't have anything to do after that part.
I was like, don't give us a character that then do nothing with it.
Right.
So Melanie Griffith goes down to the lobby and drops her thing, and Harrison Ford comes over to help her, and we get the whole like, was you falling in love with me part of the game?
Right.
It started as a bet, but I fell in love with you.
Yes. Yeah. There she goes.
So kiss me.
But yeah, they have this like little meeting, and then the big confrontation when Harrison Ford like takes her aside in front of the business people, which I really like. And then there's this really great bit where like Sigourney and the old guy are on the elevator with a bunch of other people who are part of this deal, and Harrison Ford like won't get on the elevator, and they're calling him crazy and like oh, stop thinking with your little head and all this nonsense. And he's like, well, I'm not in until she's in. And then
the door shuts, and Melanie Griffith is like, well, I hope she's told you about the hole in the deal, as the door shuts. And he's like, hold up.
He hits the door open button, gets out of the elevator, lets it shut, and then she gets a literal elevator pitch to like,
a literal elevator pitch.
Yes,
I was so excited because that never happens.
No, it is really a hoot that like literally she makes an elevator pitch, at which she's like, he just asked her one question. He's like, how'd you come up with the idea for this? And she explains like this kind of convoluted gossip column connect the dots path she made to like figure out how this would work, which I thought was really interesting. Like, again, really good writing to show like this character.
It was great writing because it put it in very clear terms. You're like, oh, that makes sense, actually.
But also, it's like this character who reads Page Six and reads the gossip column and like, you know, People magazine or whatever that everybody shits on for not reading the Business Times is able to use this as like research to better her position as a business person, which I thought was cool. Like,
yeah, I liked that.
Know, she's able to use this to her advantage.
She's a different kind of business person.
They somehow beat them to the floor, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No.
Like they get there.
Although I guess they were the only ones in the elevator. The other elevator had other people in it.
But they get off first.
And he's like, "Hey, Sigourney Weaver, how'd you come up with this idea?" And she's like, I don't know."
Which is crazy to me. Like, how are you a successful business person and this bad at lying?
Yeah, I would have been like, it came to me.
You've never had to just like come up with an answer for something on the spot and then like deal with the repercussions later, because that happens to me on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah.
And not saying that like I'm some unprepared schlub, but like sometimes you get asked a curveball question and you're like, well, I guess I better come up with something on my feet now, and then I'll deal with it later. And like sometimes dealing with it later is like, hey, that idea is not great. Let's try to come up with a better one. But like, how is this never like? How do you not have anything? She literally
especially
stammers.
As sneaky snake as she is.
I know. She's just like, help me out, Harrison Ford. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And then she just stutters some more, and then that's it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he's like, you should. So she's like, storms off to her office, because I guess it was. I was like, oh, I like that she still's like, I'm in charge here, even though she clearly just got dethroned. Right.
Well, the guy is like, you better go clear out your office because I'm going to get you fired.
So cut to a cute lunchbox that Harrison Ford is preparing for Melanie Griffith.
Well, the guy offers her a job.
The guy, quote unquote, entry level position.
Yes, and I'm writing angry notes here. Like, what a dick! Like entry level. Like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? You asshole! How could you do this?
It was vague enough.
Yeah.
So she goes to the new job and she sees a woman in an office.
The lunchbox is very cute. I didn't mean to cut you off for that.
It was cute.
He's like he packs her lunch like it's her first day of school, and it's like cute and like it without context it would feel like someone talking down to someone, but it's not. It's really sweet.
Yeah, he's like, here's some milk money. I want you to play nice with the other kids today. Like it's a sweet little moment.
Peanut butter and jelly with the crust cut off and an apple for the teacher.
And so she sees a woman in an office.
Oh, wait. I'm so sorry. They are also in the midst of this scene eating each toast, a bowl of cereal, orange juice, freshly squeezed orange juice, and then also it looks like eggs. Like they're doing a cereal commercial, complete balanced breakfast before work in the morning.
Complete balanced breakfast.
Yeah, this 3,200 calorie complete balanced breakfast.
From Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, she sees a woman in the office talking on the phone with her feet up, and she's like, oh, well, that's my new boss, so I'm going to sit at this desk. And then the woman comes out, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just on the phone. And Melanie Griffith is like, that's fine. And when the woman's like, coffee, Melanie Griffith goes to get it, and she's like, no, I'll get it. And she says, I'll take milk and sugar, which is so vague. Like, that's not a coffee order.
Yes.
So she comes back, and there's this wonderful moment where the woman's like, that's your desk. And Melanie Griffith is like, but the secretary would sit out here. And she goes, yeah, I do. Because it's me.
Yes.
And I prefer assistant.
Yeah. Which I thought was a nice little, little piece there.
Yeah.
Also, in this scene, it's Melanie Griffith is wearing the same jacket she was wearing in the kitchen, but I thought she was wearing Harrison Ford's coat in the kitchen. It fits her so poorly.
It's a Heather's jacket.
I know, but it was like when they were in the kitchen, I was like, oh, like she's wearing his jacket, like, that happens all the time. And then I was like, wait a minute. Nope, that's her jacket.
That is hers.
It's just enormous.
So yeah, she's a big boss lady. She's a business lady.
She calls Joan Cusack from her office phone and is like, guess what I'm calling you from? My corner office phone, or whatever she says. I don't know if it's a corner office. And then all the other secretaries are like, yeah, and then let the river run.
Carly
and
Simon
we're out of here.
Back,
yeah. Final thoughts?
It's a fun movie. I really enjoy it. It's not perfect, but it's good.
Yeah.
Mom, thank you for suggesting it.
Yeah, it was a good suggestion. I do two things, since I think other people out there might be like, you've said the sassy companion piece to Die Hard 96 times and not justified it. I could totally see this being the Holly Gennaro story.
I am into that.
Like, this could if you retitled the characters, this could absolutely have been like a reasonable facsimile of what it took for Holly Gennaro to become the powerful.
Is Sigourney Weaver Mr. Nakatomi?
Well, it's not a one-to-one thing. No, because Mr. Nakatomi is like a good dude. He like has a lot of respect for her as a person, regardless of her, gender, and then also hates Ellis. So he seems like a good dude.
That's fair.
But it just part of the subtext of Die Hard is, and it certainly is not a movie about that at all. But part of it is, this woman seeking to be her own person in a time when that wasn't as much of a thing, and John McClane not being a great person and supportive person and adjusting to that. So I thought it was like, it's a little crazy, like it's circuitous, but I could see you like watching Working Girl and thinking about it as like sort of Holly Gennaro's backstory probably would work, I think.
I can agree with that.
I mean, you got to get Bonnie Bedelia in there, but that's, a whole different kettle of fish.
Also, that quote is from Bob's Burgers.
Yes.
If you don't know.
It is. But here's the $1 million question I have, I guess. And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Working Girl or 9 to 5?
9 to 5.
I think so too. And I think honestly the only reason is because it's a comedy. Like it's an out and out comedy that I think still makes me laugh.
Honestly, if you drop Sigourney Weaver into as like the nosy toady of Dabney Coleman, would be into that. Or Joan Cusack. Either one of them.
Yeah. I really dig Working Girl. I think it's totally worth your time.
It's great.
Never seen it. It's good. It is a little long, and that's like part of my preference for 9 to 5 too. I think it's a little bit shorter, although I'm not sure it's not that much shorter. But it's like a light drama, I guess. Like I don't know what box to
I would
put
say
this
light
movie
drama.
in. Yeah, because it's not funny necessarily.
Romantic workplace drama.
Yeah, I guess it's a romantic drama is it. But and it's a nice story, and like I believe the two of them, they have good chemistry together, although I think Harrison Ford in 1988 could probably have had good chemistry with a broom handle.
True.
It's like maximum charm Harrison Ford here. But yeah, you have really great performances from everybody, and this is my the Kate Hudson Corollary. This is Melanie Griffith's by far best performance. And to use a sports analogy of occasionally a player whose average has just like a really great day, and that doesn't really make sense in the context of filming a movie which takes several weeks. Like you would think that
people just get the right project.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like a good pairing of material and person, and also director who's able to get a lot out of them, and all the other pieces that obviously movie making is a collaborative, super duper collaborative effort, even beyond individual, even as part of talking about individual performances. Like it's always collaborative, but it's interesting. Like you see that from time to time with an actor or actress that you're like, oh my gosh, like I thought that person sucked, and then they're in a movie and you're like, they were great in that, and then you're like I've definitely been fooled by that of like, oh, let me go see another movie by that person. You're like, oh no, it was just the one.
It's the one-off.
It was just the one. Yeah, it was just like the perfect storm of circumstances that were, it's like I don't particularly enjoy any of Kate Hudson's other movies, but I think she's a 10 on 10.
I think Skeleton Key is fun bad.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I mostly saw like a bunch of her terrible romantic comedies.
She was in that stupid one with the airplanes and the gold with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, she was in several with Matthew McConaughey.
I'm honestly a little surprised that this movie hasn't gotten remade with like Emma Stone or Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm sure it's right around the corner, honestly, because they're remaking everything. Oh, speaking of remakes that we tied into, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake finally came out this month.
It did.
So, yeah, you can go peek our episode. They even put a little cutesy tagline thing on the poster in the lobby of the movie theater I was at. They had like, it wasn't a poster, it's one of those big cardboard things you can take your picture in. You can like pretend to be driving the car, and it was like something like I should have taken a picture, but it was like something along the lines of like it's not only old men that can be dirty and rotten or something like that, but it was like very like cutesy working Dirty Rotten Scoundrels into there. But yeah, anyway, so that's also out now if you're looking for something else to tie into that. We did that episode way back when.
Once upon a time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Don't forget about Listener Request Month. Call in if you need the number. listen to the beginning of this episode or go online where I've corrected it now everywhere. But we need those calls by May 31st, so make sure you get those in. We're looking forward to doing that with y'all. We really need your help, and we really appreciate it. As always, tell 2 friends if you like the show. Get on out there and let them know about this podcast that you like, and that's the best way to spread the word about the show. And if you'd like more content from us, there's a really easy way to get it. If you join us on Patreon, patreon.com/dissectingthe80s, there are multiple rewards tiers with different rewards, but at the $5 level right now, if you jump in, you're getting multiple bonus episodes the second that you sign up. So highly recommend you check that out. If you want more Dissecting the 80s, it's just a few bucks away. We're also on all the social media, Facebook and Twitter. It's Dissect the 80s on Twitter and Dissecting the 80s on Facebook. Someone was just recently asking us about doing a group instead of a page, and I'm 1,000 years old and don't quite understand that, but if someone wanted to do that, I would be totally cool with it. I guess we should be tangentially involved. Yeah, someone specifically was asking about a Facebook group as opposed to the page. So I would be happy for anyone to jump on that. If you want to do that, please, you have our blessing. Just loop us, tag us or post it on the page so we know about it. But yeah, that would be awesome. Anyway, thank you all for the support that way. It means a whole heck of a lot to us. We really appreciate it. Lastly, don't forget to review the show. If you haven't done that yet, review the show on iTunes and we'll get it and be able to read it on the air. If you review it somewhere else, just send us a screenshot so we can read it for you. But we really appreciate those reviews. So thank you for that. We will be back in 2 weeks with the other half of this themeless May month.
Wired.
The John Belushi biopic tying into that Elton John biopic coming at the end of May, I believe.
It looks fun.
The Elton John one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wired is on YouTube if anybody would like to watch it in advance. You just search Wired John Belushi. It comes right up. It's a VHS rip because it's never been released elsewhere, but it's easily accessible on the YouTubes. So that will be on the 20th of May. So we'll be back May 20th with Wired, the John Belushi story, starring Michael Chiklis. Thank you again so much for listening. I have been Trip Leno.
I will always be Andrew Leno.
Until May 20th.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.